What we do is slightly different is that, we offer our boxers something very different in that we build with them a strategy and a plan so that they know what they're doing in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, offering an opportunity for Filipinos to get outside of the country, to be able to have a life outside and then, have an income as well from that.
POWCAST Sports. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
All right. To be honest, this is the first time that I've actually heard about you. I don't know about you. There's a lot of ala fighters who've signed with different promoters and managers, and I'm familiar with them. If you could kind of share a little bit about yourself and your background in boxing, it would help all the Filipino fans learn more about the new manager of Arthur.
Yeah, so firstly, let me say thank you for having us on the show. It's greatly appreciated. Excited about that. So I've got a lot of history in the Philippines, actually, in that a few years ago I was managing director of Global FC, a football club. That was run by and owned by Sir Palami, who's also in charge of the ASCALs. And so understanding, Philippines and so on is something which is close to our heart. Now, I'm the director of an agency which has been running now for about 15 years. And we specialize in 3 areas of sport at the elite level. And that's motor racing, football, soccer, and boxing. Now, our partner with the boxing, who heads it up, and probably why you haven't heard of me, is Dejan Zavic. Now, Dejan is a former two-class world champion. So, for those of you who might not know him, he unfortunately lost the title to Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman will be somebody that everybody will be familiar with because the great Manny Pacquiao just beat him to regain the world championship title. So while I was spending time in the Philippines with football, it became obvious just how much of a breeding ground and how fantastic the talent is in the Philippines for boxing. And we started to expand our European branch to wanting to move into the Philippines. And we started that by acquiring Mark Barriga. When we had Mark, we made sure that we were focused on not just getting 10, 20, 50, 100 boxers, like the greats of ALA and IPI and so on. We were looking for the right kind of boxers in and out of the ring. And then we came across Arthur. And to be honest, we actually thought it was a joke when we saw he was available because his talent is fantastic. So, we've got great pedigree and great history in Europe. And as I was saying, we want to expand into the Philippines by finding, a stable of 5 or 6 boxers who are of the pedigree of Arthur and also Mark.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I recently just spoke with Mark Barriga. I didn't really ask about the name of his new promoter, but I understand it was Slovenia, so it was you.
Yes.
It is
so
you.
What we do is slightly different is that, we offer our boxers something very different in that we build with them a strategy and a plan so that they know what they're doing in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Because often what we have found over the last decade is that more often than not, managers and promoters simply put a boxer into any fight, not necessarily the fight which is right for them, not necessarily which is a fight that's going to allow them to move to, for example, fighting at the very highest levels. Often it's self-motivated. We're trying to do it very differently by saying, okay, let's include the boxers and know what they are going to do, find out the fights that they like, find out the ones that are actually going to propel them. So not, for example, recently we had a very famous Filipino say, I want to fight 4 fights a year. And we said, look, we're not the right agency for you because it's not about the number of fights. It's who you fight and where that fight takes you, right? So then with Mark, for example, we saw that we needed to offer him something different. And we took him to Slovenia for 4 months training camp, okay? Put him up in his own accommodation, his own bedroom, brought his brother with him to be a coach as well. And then we started allowing his brother to be coaching of our gym and stable in Slovenia, So offering an opportunity for Filipinos to get outside of the country, to be able to have a life outside and then, have an income as well from that.
Wow. Okay. Well, my friends, fellow BCCP bloggers, you can ask question after this. That's why I couldn't find Mark for 4 months. He was outside the Philippines. But
Correct.
yeah,
We
my
were
last.
keeping it quiet because we wanted him to come back. We saw that, he's got unbelievable technique, as does Arthur. The technique's phenomenal. However, we've been noticing over the last few years, a lot of Filipinos do well in the Philippines, and then when they step outside the Philippines, aside from the Manny Pacquiaos or the Daenerys and so on, that they seem to stumble at that top level. And we believe that we've seen what is actually something that we can add to that. And now Mark's punching power is phenomenal. So to go with his technical side, he now has a knockout ability, and that's what we think is something that we want to add into the system. Working on technique, working on strategy, working on game fighting plan, and that comes through from Dayan, who's, like I said, two-time world champion, in two different classes. And he can pass on that information to boxers, which very few people can pass on.
Okay. All right. That's great to learn. My last question before I pass this to my friends. Usually, boxers signed with manager, promoter / promoters, but I understand this is just a management type of relationship. How do you see that happening? Which promotion do you see Arthur fighting in the future?
It's a fantastic question. It's a really, really fantastic question. Not only do we, try and accord with the Muhammad Ali Act, which says that you shouldn't do those two, but people do it. What we do have, which is very different, whether it's in motor racing, whether it's in football and in boxing, is that our stables are limited to 10 in each discipline, so that we know our athletes back to front. Okay. And now if we were focused on management and promotion, it's very, very difficult to be able to offer that personal understanding, that personal touch. So if you ask me about Mark, he will tell you if he has a great time with his girlfriend, or if he has a bust up at training or whatever, we know about it straight away. And that's what we're building with Arthur. If you're a promoter, you can't do that as well. That said, we're close with, DeBella, we're close with Eddie Hearn, good friends of ours is, Joseph Parker. So there's Duco events there. And we tap into those kind of resources that we have established over the last 10 years or longer with promoters.
If someone is interested, or a Pinoy boxer is interested of you, how is it possible, or how can they reach you?
Okay, so there's our main man in the Philippines, Pio Solon. Okay, everyone should know where Pio is. If they can't, they'll be able to find him. From Epic Gyms. Okay, look for him on Facebook or look for him on a Messenger. You can find him. Ask any of the other guys here, and reach out to him. Pio will then check out what the situation is and have a chat. And then if it's good, he filters the information to me. Then if it looks good, then I speak with the big man, Coach Dayan, and then we all make a decision. But, it's got to go through PO first, and if it cuts like that, then I see if it works in with what we are. And then before troubling Coach Dayan, because, he's, like I said, he's in charge of the Slovenian national team, the federation, and many other boxers. Before disturbing him, we want to make sure it's there. But we know that there's a lot of talent out there. And if there are any boys who are in the bigger weight classes and a little bit taller, moving into the 130s, 40s, 50s, 5'9", reach out to Pio. Have no problems.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hate for you to hold you further. Thank you very much, and glad to meet you.
And Arthur, we're so excited for you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Hinko.
POWCAST Sports. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.